Hello and welcome to my guide on how to do Dawn Skip. Now keep in mind this is not a perfect guide, but it should give you a general idea on how to do this trick. I will put timestamps on the video for each part of the trick, as well as a setup for the nade launch both with and without skulls. Now that the intro is out of the way, let's begin. So you want to start at the beginning of the level and just proceed through the mission until you get to the quick time event. Once you get to this point, you will have two options. You can either continue through the mission or you can delay the check when you get right here after killing the elite. If you choose to not delay the checkpoint, like I'm doing right here, you'll have to kill all the enemies. Once all the enemies are dead, you need to push the button and get ready to set up for the nade launch. Now, there are two places you can get out. However, I'm only going to show you how to do it on the right hand side, but I will put a link in the description for a setup on the left hand side with skulls by Termacious Trickocity, who is the original founder of this trick, at least to my knowledge. So, now it's time for the hardest part of Dawn Skip. You will need to try to do a lineup that's similar to the one I'm showing on the screen right now. Once you get the checkpoint, you want to throw the first grenade. Aim all the way down to the floor. Bounce the second nade off the floor towards the box. Meanwhile, you jump on the box and try to land on the middle right part of the box. When you land on the box, you want to move slightly forward and try to jump at the same time as the nades explode. Now keep in mind, this trick is far from consistent, but if you follow this setup, you should be able to get it within 30 rebirths. If you manage to do it, it should look something like this. As I said earlier, you can do this with a delayed checkpoint or without a delayed checkpoint. If you want to practice the out of bounds section, I suggest you go for the delayed checkpoint setup. I will show you how to do the delayed checkpoint setup now. So to do the delayed checkpoint setup, you will need to start the level from the beginning, proceed through the level as normal until you get to the elite you kill in the quick time event. Once the quick time event is over, you want to start jumping and meleeing or both to delay the checkpoint you would normally get. Proceed into the next room and kill all the enemies while you keep jumping or meleeing or both to prevent the checkpoint from happening. After all the enemies are dead, keep jumping or meleeing until the button is ready to be pushed. After you hit the button, immediately start jumping or meleeing to prevent the checkpoint. And then try to do the same lineup as I showed earlier. Once you have a lineup, stop jumping and meleeing and you should get a checkpoint. When you get the checkpoint, just do the launch as I showed earlier and you should be able to get out. The reason why you want to do the delayed checkpoint method is that you actually get a second checkpoint once you're outside, which you can then use to practice the out of bounds section, which is the next part of the trick that I'll be showing now. Now it can happen that the checkpoint you tried to delay will actually not happen. If that's the case, you will unfortunately have to restart the level and try to delay the checkpoint once again. Now that we've made it outside the map, we can then proceed on to the next part of the mission, which is to get back down to where the freeze load is. Once you're on the ceiling, take the path I'm taking. Once you're at the edge, you'll have a few ways to descend to the bottom where you need to hit the freeze load. So, getting back down can be quite tricky since there is a death barrier you need to avoid. I will now show you some of the different ways to get down. So for this method, you want to jump off the edge and try to land on the pole. Once you land on the pole, you want to jump straight up in the air and try to land on the dark green canopy marked on the video. Right before you land on the canopy, you will need to do a soft landing, meaning you'll have to crouch right before you land. If you manage to do it, it should look something like this. For this method, you want to try to land in the same spot as the first method, but this time you don't want to jump on the pole, but rather just sprint over the edge and try to land on the canopy. As with the first method, you will need to do a soft landing in order to survive the fall, which can be a bit tricky since you are falling down at a greater speed. This method is kinda similar to the first method. However, instead of jumping off the pole, you wanna just land on it and just slide down slowly. This way, you won't have to do a soft landing in order to survive the fall on the canopy. The last method I'm gonna show is more of a bonus way down than an actual way down. So instead of getting down on the left side of the roof, you go to the right side of the roof and try to land on the canopy on that side. Once you find a suitable way of getting down, it's time for the next part of Dawn Skip, which is to get past the freeze load. Once you are all the way down, you need to follow this path, enter the hallway, and just hug the right wall all the way down to the corner. Once you're in the corner, you want to place your aim slightly to the right of where the light gray meets the dark gray. Once you have a lineup, you will need to sprint forward. When you hit the freeze load, just spam the jump button. If you did it right, you should land on top of the hallway. This method only seems to work on Master Chief Collection, so if you're playing the original Halo 4, you will need to find another setup since this method does not work on that version. Also, this is the only consistent way of doing it that I've been able to find. Here's what happens if you don't do the setup that I showed earlier. So if you just walk into the load with no lineup or no sprinting, you will get frozen in space, unable to do anything, hence the name the freeze load. Another thing that can happen is that you actually do line it up, but you forget to sprint. What ends up happening is that you will not hit the load and you will just end up walking over the edge and fall to your demise. Hopefully you should be able to get past the freeze load with the setup I showed earlier, and now it's time for the final part of Dawn Skip. Once you get past the freeze load, you want to follow the path that I'm taking on screen right now. I will put notations on screen as well as try to explain the pathing the best I can. So you want to start off by jumping on the first step on this wall. You won't be able to see it, but trust me, it's there. After that, you jump to the second step. Once you're all the way up, you want to sprint in between these two walls. Once you are past the walls, you want to jump at the very edge of the roof and aim towards where all the lights and flames are. Right before you land, you need to crouch to make sure you land on the roof. It is not required to crouch right before you land, but it does make the jump more consistent. Once you've landed, you'll need to go left around the middle part. And then sprint towards the corner of the roof. Right before you hit the corner, you want to jump and then crouch to make the landing more consistent. This jump is the hardest part of this out of bounds section, but if you follow what I do, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Once you are on this roof, you need to try to get on this path. Follow the path, and then you need to jump before you hit the end. The reason for that is that there is a hole at the end of the path, which once you're falling into, it's very hard to get out. Once you're over, just follow the path I'm taking. It involves jumping over a lot of invisible walls. Movement can be very hard in this area, but just try to copy what I'm doing. Once you get to the end part of this section, you will need to fall down and try to hit the door, and voila, dawn is completed. Once you get the last out of bounds section down, it should look something like this. Now, one last thing I want to show before I end the video is that if you're struggling to do the nade launch to get out of bounds, there is another way you can do it, but it requires two skulls on, cowbell and tilt. So once again, you can either delay the checkpoint or you can just go in and kill all the enemies and get the consistent checkpoint. Here I'm choosing to delay the checkpoint so I can get a second checkpoint once I'm outside. Once you've killed all the enemies, hit the button and try to go for a setup that's similar to the one I'm showing on screen. The good thing about the skull setup is that you only need to throw one grenade instead of two, which makes it a lot easier to adjust your landing on the box. Once you get the checkpoint, you want to bounce one grenade off the floor towards the left black spot on the box. At the same time you throw the grenade, you want to jump on the box and land on the middle left part of the box. Once you land on the box, you want to move slightly forward and jump at the same time as the grenades explode. Once again, this setup is not 100% consistent, but if you follow it, you should be able to get it within 30 rebirths. If you manage to do it, it should look something like this. Now that you know every part of the trick, This is what it looks like in its entirety. I would like to use this time to thank all the people who made this trick possible. First off, I would like to thank Termacious Trickocity for finding the original way to get out of bounds. Link to his channel and to the original video will be in the description. Next off, I would like to thank Sliding Ghost and his team for being the first people to get past the freeze load. Last but not least, I would like to thank Sun100, Dancer, Dark Raider, Adam, Shibby, and Pokemon King for being part of the co-op crew, connecting all the different strats, and optimizing Dawn to the speedrun that you see today. If you have any questions regarding Dawn Skip or this video, post them in the comments and I will try to answer them to the best of my abilities. Also, if you think I've missed something or didn't cover something enough, post it in the comments and I will try to give you an answer for why that is the case. One last thing, this trick saves close to 4 minutes, so it's definitely worth learning both for IL and full game purposes. Thank you for watching this guide and I hope it helped you out one way or another.